down.
Who else is in the house? Who else is in here?
My stepson is in here.
She might be acting like she allegedly cares in the slightest about her stepson in this body cam video. But this woman is accused of a crime that not even veteran law enforcement can comprehend.
33 years of law enforcement, this is the worst treatment of humanity that I've ever witnessed.
She allegedly kept her stepson trapped inside this home for 20 years. When rescued, he weighed just under 70 pounds and was 32 years old. Now she is under arrest, and there are major questions about the failures that allowed this to happen. It is hard to come to grips with what police say happened inside this home in Waterbury, Connecticut. Firefighters responded to a call for a fire here on February 17th. But inside the house, they found much more than just flames and smoke. They uncovered a terrifying story of abuse and neglect. This is Kimberly Sullivan, which is now in police custody. Authorities say she held her stepson captive for 2 decades inside the home. Police report that the man was confined to his room for 22 to 24 hours a day. Before getting into the disturbing details of what allegedly happened inside, you need to watch this timeline of the night authorities responded to the fire and received the 911 call.
Oh my God. It's 2 Blake Street.
What's the address?
Please hurry. It's 2 Blake Street. There's a fire.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Blake
There's a
Street?
fire. I'm trying to...
Ma'am, what's
2
on
Blake
fire?
Street. The TV, I don't know. My son, his stepson is in his room, and I don't know. He did something with the TV. I was sleeping. I fell asleep.
See flames or smoke?
Yes. Come on, Steph. Come on.
Okay, can you get...
Yes, we need an ambulance, please.
Okay.
Please, we need an ambulance.
Ma'am, all right, you said something's on fire and now you need an ambulance. What's going on there?
Yes, his room. The TV in his room.
Did he get injured? Is he on fire?
Yes, he's injured. Please, send the ambulance.
Ma'am, I'm going to send the ambulance. I need to know what's going on and why they're going out there. Where is he injured?
I don't know. He's kind of, I don't know. I don't know. He's kind of passed out. He's out of it. Please.
Okay, what's your phone number just in case we need to give you a call back?
Please.
Okay, is the fire out, ma'am?
No, it's not. Please. I'm trying to.
I understand, ma'am. I'm trying to get information on what's going on there.
Oh my God, it's like all the power in the house is out. I don't know if it's blue or fuse.
Okay, ma'am, just get out of the house, okay?
Yes, I'm going to call my daughter.
All right.
Oh my God.
In the newly released body cam video, authorities captured what they found when they arrived at the scene.
Come over here. Go down the road. Come on. Come down. Come down.
Come on, down.
Who else is in the house? Who else is in here?
My stepson is in here.
How many
Help
other
him
people?
out.
Listen,
That's it. I have 2 cats.
Everybody's out?
Yes.
But your stepson's still inside?
Yeah, he's right here.
Okay,
yes.
come out. Come down the road. Come on. Come on. It's not safe to stay here. Come on.
All right, here he is. All right, my dog is
Come
shaking.
on. I know. Come down here. That's true. 87.33 victim. Fire victim.
Okay.
Come on.
My
80
dog
seconds
is,
right here.
I
Come
know
on.
my dog.
I know. Come on.
I'm coming.
You're seeing it. Got one victim right here. Let me just see over here.
They rescued the stepson, who was then taken to the hospital. According to the arrest warrant affidavit, a Waterbury police officer described the stepson, referred to as male victim 1, or called MV1, as emaciated. His hair was matted and unkempt, he was very dirty, and all his teeth appeared to be rotten. Days later, while in the hospital, MV1 spoke with police officers and gave details of what he says life was like over the past 20 years. Before going into those details, here's what the Waterbury police chief said during a news conference, courtesy of WVIT-TV in Connecticut.
Because frankly, what was being reported was unfathomable to us at that point in time. Through those investigative meetings and through search warrants, we were able to seize physical evidence and conduct interviews and dig up some more information that corroborated the victim's story.
The rescued children has been diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and research is potentially linking these illnesses to ultra-processed foods. According to the affidavit, the male victim told police he was pulled out of public school in 2004 when he would have been around 12 years old. When asked about his earliest memories, MV1 said he would sneak out of his room at night to eat and drink. But when it was discovered, he was locked in his room. He recalled drinking from a toilet because he was only given 2 cups of water a day. MV1 detailed a life of alleged captivity inside the home, controlled by Kimberly Sullivan, who allegedly locked him in his room and would only let him out to do chores. Whenever he was allowed around others, he wouldn't speak about his situation out of fear of being locked down even longer. Police say MV1's father lived in the house until he died in January 2024. Confined to a wheelchair, his presence may have provided some oversight. But after his death, MV1's captivity allegedly became even more restrictive. He said he had to use a bottle and newspaper as a bathroom. Among the many horrifying details in the arrest affidavit, one in particular stood out. He was occasionally allowed to watch TV on weekends and once had a black and white TV in his room. But when it stopped working, he relied on listening to University of Connecticut basketball games and NASCAR on the radio near his door to keep track of the years. He wasn't allowed to have friends, and the only time he was ever allowed to enjoy himself was on Halloween. The last time he went trick-or-treating was when he was 12 years old, dressed as a firefighter. That leads to the fire that ultimately set him free. MV1 set the flames himself using a lighter he had taken from his now-deceased father a year prior, along with printer paper and hand sanitizer. Something he had read was flammable. He told police he lied to Sullivan, saying the fire started due to a radio malfunction. She let him out of his room but demanded he wash his face before escaping, fearing firefighters might notice his emaciated appearance. One heartbreaking detail in the affidavit states that MV1 laid on the floor as smoke filled the home, knowing firefighters would be forced to rescue him, believing it was the only way to escape. According to the affidavit, MV1 stands 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighed just 68.9 pounds when rescued. He told detectives, "I wanted my freedom." He suffered smoke inhalation during the fire but is in stable condition. While MV1 recovers, many questions remain about how this was allegedly able to happen for so long. Waterbury police say the Department of Children and Families visited the home twice in 2004 after concerns were raised by children and teachers at MV1 school. In a news conference, the Waterbury police chief addressed these visits, shedding light on a system that may have failed to protect him.
We're doing some background investigation. There are 2 incidents that we had within our computer system of dealing with that address and with the family back in 2005. One was a request from DCF to do a welfare check at the location because children that the victim was familiar with hadn't seen him and they were concerned about him. Officers went to the house. The house was clean. It was lived in. They spoke to the victim at that point in time, and there were no cause for any alarm or any conditions that existed that would have led officers to believe anything other than a normal childhood and a normal family existence was occurring. That was reported back to DCF, and that was the last that we were involved in that particular investigation. We were called back to the house in the latter part of April by the family who wanted to file a harassment complaint against members of the school district, saying that they were continuously reporting them to DCF and felt that they were trying to get the family in trouble and have the family investigated. We have no further information about where that went other than there was no proof provided by the family that there was any type of harassment that was occurring. As far as the school district's concerned, we are looking at those records now. We're working with DCF to look at records that they may have from previous investigations, and that's part of the ongoing investigation.
The Department of Children and Families, DCF, told WTNH in Connecticut that they have no records related to the victim and his family. State records are expunged 5 years after reports of neglect or abuse are considered unsubstantiated. But what about other members of the victim's family? The New York Post spoke to the man's biological mother, who lives in Meriden, Connecticut, about 20 minutes from Waterbury, where her son was allegedly held captive. Speaking outside her home, she told the Post, "We are all trying to come to grips with this horror that my son had to endure. He has family who love him so much and has never been forgotten about." However, the Post noted that she did not answer questions about why she allegedly did not intervene to rescue her son from the abuse. As for the stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan appeared in court. She is charged with assault in the first degree, kidnapping in the second degree, unlawful restraint in the first degree, cruelty to persons, and reckless endangerment in the first degree. Here is what her attorney said outside of court, as reported by CT Insider.
Absolutely. Yeah, so she completely maintains her innocence. From our perspective, these allegations are not true. They are outlandish. I mean, she was blown away when she heard these allegations. She's adamant they are not true. This did not happen, and we look forward to being able to vindicate her and show that she's falsely accused of such a thing.
You mentioned her husband passing away recently.
Correct.
Potentially someone who was
the biological father. Well, I mean, he was the biological father. He's the one that dictated how his son would be raised. We think as the evidence comes out, you will see that she's not the villain she's being made out to be. Absolutely not.
You mentioned that the allegations were being cooperated. I mean, how are the allegations really being cooperated?
Well, the allegations seem to be based on the words of one individual and one individual alone. I did not see anything in the warrant to indicate any independent evidence to corroborate these allegations. So we'll see how they stand up at trial. I do anticipate a trial in this case, given the shocking nature of the allegations. She's adamant. She's done nothing wrong.
Where's the boy now? Where's the
I don't know. But my understanding, he's based on my review of the warrant. There was no other person to corroborate any of the claims that were made, and we'll, at the appropriate time, we'll get into the motivations and the credibility of any witness.
Sullivan was held on a $300,000 bail, which she was able to post, and she is currently free as the case continues while her stepson recovers in the hospital. Her next court date is reportedly scheduled for March 26th. The city of Waterbury and the community are now coming together to support the victim as he recovers in the hospital and faces a long journey ahead. A GoFundMe page, linked by the police department on its Facebook page, is being run by a nonprofit organization called Safe Haven of Greater Waterbury. At the time of this recording, the fundraiser has already raised more than $90,000. Marianne Bracha, a practicing attorney and professor of law at Temple University, as well as a former prosecutor, spoke about this case on the Law and Crime Network.
Well, first reaction is it sounds like a house of horrors. It sounds like something out of a horror film. It sounds like something out of a Stephen King novel. It's almost something that doesn't seem real. But then when you hear the physical condition that the survivor was in, that the male victim was in, you know that it is all too real, and there is actually physical evidence of what he endured for all that time.
How common are, I know this, and we've heard from law enforcement that have said, the chief said in 33 years of his career, he's never seen something like this. But when you have cases where there is someone who's being held captive in a home, how common are these types of cases?
I can't say that a case like this comes down the pike every day. I can't say that this is a very common fact pattern that presents itself to prosecutors for consideration. There have been instances where I've seen and reviewed materials for captive-like cases like this in the past, but again, they're few and far between. And the thing to remember with any case involving a dependent person or with a vulnerable victim is that these crimes go on behind closed doors, in the dark, outside of public viewing. These are not what we call quote unquote street crimes that can be captured by surveillance or poll cameras or a police car that's driving by that happens upon a crime scene. These are things that happen really in the dark and are not often discovered by investigators or by the people who are best suited to help.
Police say that he was pulled out of school, public school, in 2004. And then he was, I guess, considered to be homeschooled at the time, and he just fell through the cracks along the way. How can we track somebody who is pulled out of school, but then it appears that there's no record whatsoever? I know DCF went to the house twice and then said that at the time nothing seemed to be wrong, but how does someone fall through the cracks like this?
I think the only phrase to use there is administrative failure. Children, and especially dependent children, children who are being homeschooled, children who are suspected of enduring abuse should not be able to fall through the cracks or have their cases closed by a cursory review. How does that happen? It happens with overburdened systems. It happens with overworked social workers and caseworkers. It happens when, quite frankly, there isn't the systemic priority placed on safeguarding the most vulnerable and potentially vulnerable victims of crimes and neglect like this.
Then reportedly in Connecticut, after 5 years, when there's a report of abuse, so in this case, a DCF social worker went to the house, found nothing in their mind at that point warranted any sort of charge or abuse, so it was considered unfounded. In Connecticut, those records are expunged after 5 years, so they don't exist anymore. How common are those laws, and what's the point of those laws?
I think laws and timeframes like that, time limits like that on archiving and on record keeping of certain reports is actually pretty common. And if you think about it, it's not just record keeping when it comes to social services, record keeping when it comes to child and youth protective services. Those time limits exist in almost every industry, in almost every facet of our society. Even things like bank records or tax records, things like that are pretty regularly expunged after a certain number of prescribed years. So unfortunately, I don't think this was any malfeasance. I don't think this was any wrongdoing. This sounds like something that was in line with the agency's policies regarding record keeping and the length of time that records are kept. But this is a fairly common practice, again, not just in the social service realm, but in most facets of our society.
Is there a reason why, though, in this realm that they would do that? I think back in the day, you only have so much room for so much paper, in an archive room, and then now everything's digital. What's the reason that it would be expunged? Is it protecting someone who maybe was accused in a wrong way, and then they don't want to have that on their record if it was something that wasn't true? In this case, we'll see how the court case plays out.
Yeah, I think both of those considerations are at play when it comes to expunging these records. I think you're right that back in the day when these were paper records, there was physical limitation on storage of however many boxes or folders of information that a particular building or storage unit could hold. The same is somewhat true of our digital archives. There are only so many terabytes that exist in terms of our cloud storage or in terms of these agencies' storage. That's not making an excuse for it by any means, but that there is still that consideration of the storage space available for a forever maintenance of records. But I think you're also right that when someone is investigated or when someone is suspected of wrongdoing and they are cleared, there is a societal interest in clearing that person's name if there are no subsequent reports, if there are no follow-up concerns with that person's behavior or that person's care of a child or a dependent person. And so there is a privacy interest there in terms of clearing their name and not having records attributable to them for suspected wrongdoing ad infinitum, forever and always.
So if you were a prosecutor on this case going forward, what happens now? Because you have this, certainly the story that male victim one, told authorities. I mean, there's just so many details of it that are just horrific. He himself is a piece of evidence just with the condition that he was in at the time. What are some of the pieces of evidence you would need as a prosecutor if you were to take this to trial?
So I think there are a few steps of the investigation that I'm sure that are underway and being considered as they proceed toward a prosecution. Number one, the personhood of male victim one has been deprived or jeopardized for all of these years. And so my number one priority as a prosecutor would be to safeguard that personhood, that autonomy, that decision-making and the respect and the dignity that is owed to this victim, to make sure that he is participating meaningfully and willingly in the prosecution without having choices that are foisted upon him that aren't of his making. So I would make sure that he is really involved in the process and that his voice, his preferences, his needs are really heard and attended to moving forward, because obviously he's been through 20 years of having those needs and that voice completely disregarded. So he would be my central focus. There is, of course, the need to gather physical evidence. So I believe his physical condition, his physical state, as you mentioned, is an important piece of evidence. So documenting, photographing, recording how he is physically, his size, his weight, his physical and mental well-being currently after he was discovered after all of these years. And there's also physical documentation of the living conditions where he was for all of those years. The fact that there was plywood and a series of locks on his door. The fact that no one had seen him in however many years. I would be going about the business of finding family members and interviewing them, asking them about their involvement with the family, with the defendant in this case, the caregiver, or the should have been caregiver, to find out when the family member's access was restricted to this male victim, when the last time they saw him, and what the circumstances of that, of seeing him were. So I'd really be trying to get a holistic view of this person's experiences and living situation, or I should say surviving situation over the past 20 years. And you piece that together with physical evidence, with documentary evidence, with photographic evidence, and certainly with narrative evidence of those closest to him or purportedly close to him or close to the family.